Well, hello again, and welcome to Robyn's Reviews. All right, we are still covering the book, A Song for You by Robyn Crawford. All right, we're actually on chapters 17 and 18. So we'll go ahead and get started. Chapter 17, Robyn's talking about her brother Marty. All right, he has been diagnosed with HIV, of course, virus that causes AIDS. And she's talking about, some of the health challenges that he's experiencing. And then, she said she feels like her family's cursed because her mother's trying to help her with her brother. And then her mother collapses and, they run a bunch of tests. They can't find anything wrong with her mother. Lo and behold, they run one more test. And they ran an HIV test on her. She now has, actually doctors told her mother had full-blown AIDS. So Robyn is just beside herself, what the heck? And she was sort of angry, saying that, her mother had survived, domestic violence from her father. She had put herself through college to get a BS degree, to get a master's degree. And so she sort of felt, like fate was dealing her mother, a bad hand. And so she talks about that. And this is where her brother's health really starts to fail now. Now in the 90s, folks, this is prior to all of the age drugs that were developed. So pretty much, early 90s, if you, were diagnosed with HIV, pretty much at that time, early 90s, that was a death sentence. So it's totally different from where we are today, thank goodness, all right? So she talks about that. And, with her mother being diagnosed, she decided she would try to take care of her mother and Marty, all right? So then they moved into her condo. And so primarily that's what she's talking about. And, she's talking about how secretive her brother was. She never knew anything about his, romantic past or life. He was very, very secretive, okay? And then I think she talked to some of his friends when he went to college. And some of his friends remember her brother had been in the military when he was in North Carolina, and they sort of gave Robyn, some insight about some of the things that Mr. Marty was doing, all right, in North Carolina. All right, and then this chapter is where Marty passes away, actually. Okay, so he his health continually declining, and so this is where he actually, passes away, and her mother devastated, and obviously she's still dealing with her own HIV diagnosis. Robyn seems a little salty with her father. It seems that she mentions what she had mentioned before. Her father was really hard on her brother and felt he wasn't manly enough, wanted him to be this big tough athlete. Well, that's not who Marty was. And Robyn says she was more of the athlete, all right? So her father showed up late to her brother's funeral. Of course, she didn't like that. And so, that's what she says pretty much with that. When we get to chapter 18, The Trouble with Angels, she starts talking about what's going on. I think at this time, the Bodyguard World Tour is going on in Tokyo. So she's, has to go back and catch up with the tour. And she talks about Bobby Brown and Bobby Chris eventually joining them, she and Whitney on the road. She said that months before Bobby's tour jumped off, Bobby stayed behind, so then Whitney, out of distrust from afar, now she's in Tokyo and on tour, you don't know what someone's doing here in America. But anyway, she just talks about how Whitney, it was frustrating to see Whitney, allow herself to be disrespected, to be demeaned, to be discouraged from doing what was best for her and her daughter, which was basically leaving Bobby Brown. So this is where all heck breaks loose. And those of you who look at the show, Living Single, with Queen Latifah and one of my other favorite actresses, Kim Fields, I think you're familiar with the term, sookie now. Well, Whitney told Bobby about her and Robyn's romantic past, as Robyn says here. And so when they come back to America, Sylvia is like telling, Robyn that, what happened. And she said that, Sylvia said, haven't you noticed how Bobby is kind of treating you, in a bad way? And Robyn's like, no, I haven't noticed. So then she told that, Whitney told Bobby about her relationship with Robyn. He hit the roof, and Robyn pretty much said every time, that they were on a trip. This happened after they went to Bali, actually, a vacation. So those of you who don't know, but I've read other books, Aunt Bay told Whitney to tell Bobby about her and Robyn. Why she would do that, I say, her family didn't want her with Robyn. Her family really didn't want her with Bobby. Folks, it's all about control. Control of Whitney, control of basically money, all right, and her career. And so Bobby flew into a rage, and, he wasn't happy, understandably, and he asked for his passport. So they were all at a restaurant in Bali, and all this happened, and so Robyn said she never figured out why she would tell her, but again, those of you who know the story, Aunt Bay basically told her to, trying to get stuff started up. Remember, Aunt Bay is one of Sissy's minions, okay? So she was there, spying on Robyn and Whitney, trying to see what they were doing, and then reporting back to Sissy, allegedly, of course. So then Robyn talks about 1993. This is where she talks about Lisa Henneman. That's who she's currently married to. 1993, she said she was tired of being alone, and so then she said that, she didn't want to start a relationship, okay? Robyn mentions that with her brother's diagnosis and with her mother's diagnosis of HIV, she was just afraid of everything, all right? And she said she was going to the doctor a lot, being tested. Also, 1994, she talks about Whitney threw a big party for Bobby, his 25th birthday party at the Tavern on the Green in Central Park. So she invited Lisa, and so Lisa went, and she talks about how, she didn't want to really, she was taking it slow. She didn't want to get to a relationship. We know what Whitney would do anytime someone was interested in Robyn, particularly if it was a female. She would make sure she would break that up. So Robyn said she sort of kept this secretive, all right? She said that, she felt free. Obviously, with Whitney, everything had to be secretive. You couldn't be out in public. You couldn't be holding hands. That couldn't happen. So she talks about, how she just started seeing Lisa regularly. She felt, she said she felt freer than she had ever felt, all right? Because there were no stipulations. You can go out in public, and be yourself. Obviously, if you're with someone who is a international star, all right, you're in that bubble. You can't do what you want to do. So she talks about how she loved walking around. She said no one, when she would spend time with Lisa, no one would know where she was except her mother. Because remember, her mother, her T-cell count was good, but she still had HIV, and so she could contact Robyn. No one else could. So then, this is interesting, and I read this somewhere else as well. Robyn said that when she and Lisa went out in public, now remember, she's been conditioned all these years from being with Whitney. She said that Lisa tried to grab her hand, just to hold her hand like normal couples do, and she said, please don't do that. She pulled back. So remember, all these years in Whitney world, she said also she wasn't ready for it. She said, now she looks at it, of course, she says I was being inconsiderate, all right? But she said, she wasn't ready to be serious. She was still on the fence about commitment. So, her emotions are all over the place. She wanted to figure out, what she wanted to do. And obviously, she still had feelings for Whitney as well, okay? So those are pretty much the main points from those two chapters, all right, from 17 and 18. So just wanted to share that with you. And remember, folks, I will be having a live event on July 24th. And for the channel subscribers who ask the best questions, all right, during the live event, you will be receiving t-shirts. So Rolling Review t-shirts, you know, are some gifts that I'll be sending out to my channel subscribers. And so if you're interested in that event, please feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, all right, and share this information with other people. So that's not, like I said, I'm going to do that July 24th, have a Rolling Review t-shirt giveaway, and for future videos, I'll also be talking about other events and giveaways that I'll be having during live events. So if you have enjoyed this video, all right, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment in the comment section. Also, my email is below the video. So if you have something you'd like to ask, you can shoot me an email. I respond to all emails. I also respond to all comments, okay? So thank you again for watching Rolyn's Reviews.